right, good evening, June 6th, 2024 at 6 p.m. Calling this evening's Parks Commission to order. Starting with approval of minutes for May. Can I have a motion to approve?
I'll move approval.
Thank you. Any comments? Oh, Christopher, was that you? Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. I do have one item just to read from Patrick Cheney, and the comment is just minimal with more details and comments elsewhere acceptable regarding the minutes. So no changes noted, but any changes from the commission? All right, then we'll move forward with voting. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? I need to remember to pause. Apologies. Okay, thank you. We'll move forward with number 3, public appearances for non-agenda item. I do have...
Sue, I hate to interrupt,
No,
but
go ahead.
I can't see, there's no, on the screen, like the agenda's not popping up.
Heidi, you'll need to open your packet to see that. We're trying some new things tonight.
Oh, okay. All right, thank you.
Sorry, thanks, Scott. I did not answer. All right, so for then 3, public appearances, non-agenda items. We do have Patrick Cheney here, registered to speak. Patrick?
In the May 2 Parks meeting, a statement was made, and I take issue with it, and I want to address it. The statement, just slightly paraphrased, but still accurate, was an answer to a question, and it was this, quote, "Taxpayer dollars are not going to be spent on this project. This will be paid for with parkland dedication fees from developers," unquote. My firm belief is all money in the control of the city of Fitchburg is our taxpayer money. It all belongs to us Fitchburg taxpayer resident citizens. There is no money from any source that is money free to spend indiscriminately. Our city has many fund sources. First, those large property tax checks, those of us who live here pay for our houses and property, and from business taxes and from many permit fees and traffic ticket fines, federal ARPA grants, maybe some state funds, grants, donations, and more. This also includes the developer parkland dedication fees legally required by ordinances and a fee they continually try to get out of paying. Changes here in using this fee could solve some problems, but that is another discussion. All becomes taxpayer resident money when received. All money is then up to the council and these commissions to decide how to spend, and the responsibility of our elected and appointed members to judiciously, carefully, and wisely evaluate for the validity and the necessity of all city expenditures. If this commission and the council say no, it's a no. Judge carefully, vote wisely. A prime example of wasting money, and it is even our taxpayer property tax levy money, is an example most on this commission have known for years, and many agreed is wasteful spending, but has never quite had the appropriate action vote. And this is the volleyball posts and winders in McGaw Park, a CIP proposal of somebody's idea, and a CIP item I am watching closely to see if the Parks Department chooses to spend this $50,000 unnecessarily, or decide to back down and voluntarily remove this off the CIP list and save this property tax levy money for a later appropriate purpose. It's in McGaw Park. See for yourself, as some of you have. Thank you.
Thank you, Patrick. I don't have any other members registered to speak, so I'll move on to 4, review and approve tonight's agenda. I would move approval. Do we have any other feedback? Or can I get a second to apologize?
I'll second.
Thank you, Christopher. Any feedback or any suggestions to change? All right, we'll move forward with approval. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Wonderful. Agenda is approved. Moving into action items, we'll start with 5A. For 5A, we both have Susan and James Wilson here to talk through the Little Free Library, but I'll first start with making a motion to approve. May I get a second?
I'll second that motion.
Thank you, Dave. And Sue and James, would you mind coming up to the microphones to talk. And I don't know, Scott, would you like to kick off any commentary or?
Sure. Just a welcome to Sue and her husband to our community, and where they came from, they were really involved in little free libraries, and they like to do the same here in the city. So we're awful appreciative and thankful, and they actually have a couple proposals for your consideration.
Please go ahead. I'm excited to hear.
Do I do anything with this microphone? No. Push it? Oh, put it a bit closer to me.
There you go.
Okay. We, as Scott mentioned, we have moved from Maryland to Wisconsin. We have 2 grandchildren who live here. We have 2 grandchildren who live in Sweden. So we were constantly traveling and decided to relocate closer to one of them. And so here we are. In Maryland, I was a member of the Friends of the Library in Queen Anne's County, and started an initiative to place little free libraries in places where books could be accessed by people who might not necessarily have access to a library or think to go to a library. And so we placed one in a park, and it was the most successful little free library. I could hardly keep it full of books, which was a really nice thing to see. So when I left Maryland, I was gifted 2 little free libraries by my friends. And so I thought it would be nice to recreate that success of the little free libraries in Maryland. And we live on Ashburn Lane, and Chicory Park is right up the road from us. And we see kids there, and I take my grandkids there. So I have one little free library that kind of looks like a barn, which I think would really fit nicely there. There's a bench, and it almost looks like the bench is begging for someone to sit there with a book. So that was one of the parks that we had identified as a possible location for that little free library. I have a second one, and my granddaughter loves McKee Park. There's so much to do there, and it's so active. And I thought that this is one of the things that I think made our other little free library so successful was that there was a path down to the Chesapeake Bay. So people were constantly coming there. And it looks like there's a lot of purpose, and you get a lot of transportation to McKee Park as well. There's already a little free library that exists over by a little sandbox area, but we were looking over closer to I call it the universal, because my background is in special education, so it's the playground that's for all, and so it has access for every kid, regardless of their ability or disability. And so we thought maybe that would be a nice little place to put some books there as well, because maybe those parents don't have the mobility or the access to go to libraries or that kind of thing, and it would be something that anybody could benefit from there. So that was our idea. Little free libraries have been around for quite a while and been quite successful, and it continues the literacy, and we know literacy is a life skill. So we're asking you to consider allowing us to do that, and maybe working with Scott to make sure we put it in. If you have any other suggestions for parks, obviously we're new to the area. We've visited many of them in Fitchburg and kind of looked and thought, and we'd like to continue to put little free libraries in parks. So, but this would be a beginning. But if you have feedback, and then I would work with Scott, because when in Maryland, I work with the Parks and Recs Department, because they wanted to make sure that the people who mow the grass and all of that kind of thing, it's not going to be an obstruction to maintaining those areas.
Any questions at all? I know we've had a little free library, I think last year, that came in, that I know they're definitely well received and seem very popular when I walk past.
We'll just add, coming from Seattle, same thing as in Maryland. Little free libraries are really great assets to the community, and from what I saw, they're well used. And I would be very supportive, because I think that they're, again, like many of the things that you said about increasing literacy, making sure that there are equitable access for books. I think that's a great idea. So I'm supportive. Thank you.
The only other thing I would add is the success of the little free libraries that I found in Maryland was you need a steward. You need someone who's going to take care of it. And so Jim and I would be the stewards for these 2 libraries. And we've joined the Friends of the Library here, and possibly if we extend this kind of idea to others, we could get some other stewards and other people involved. But we would make sure we were the stewards for these libraries. We would take care of all of the maintenance and putting books in them, and so the park wouldn't be responsible for any of that.
That's a great idea. I have a couple questions for you. One is, do you know if there's any redundancy in the areas? I know you mentioned McKee, but I know there's a little free library that's sitting on Auburn Drive, because I live in Seminole Hills too. So I was just concerned that there might be some overlap there with.
And there might be, but I think the park is a specific place where people go to, just to play and whatever. And so, walking around the communities, there are little free libraries in the communities, but this would be in the park.
And where specifically in the park?
Chicory Meadows. So
I'm familiar with Chicory Meadows.
Okay, so you know where that bench is?
The big bench in the middle, and there's benches by the playground as well. There's a playground in the front end where there's 2 benches.
So this would be in the playground area next to the tennis courts.
Next to the tennis courts, okay.
And that's
fairly close to where you're living then.
absolutely.
Yes, right up the street.
That's right.
Yeah. Okay.
Which makes it convenient for maintenance, right?
All right. Very good. Thank you.
Sure, yep. Thank you for the question.
This in my neighborhood, there's a little free library. I'm in the process of moving to a park. I was on a court, and there's no more children living on that court. And the park where I intend to put it, it's lower income, and when I'm in the residents' homes, there's no books, in those homes. So I'm glad you're doing this, and I think maybe we'll continue to see more of this. The park is a great location. Thank you for your efforts.
Oh, thank you.
Heidi?
Thank you. I just wanted to agree. I think this is great. I mean, I know we have this in, several libraries and several other areas of the community as well. And I see no reason not to expand it. I agree. Having books available to kids is critical. So the fact that you folks are willing to steward this is very appreciated, and hopefully your enthusiasm will catch on and other folks will want to steward those in their areas as well.
Thank you.
All right, not seeing any other questions or comments. Moving to vote. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank
Very
you.
excited. And Scott, next steps, you'll kind of connect?
We'll
Perfect.
coordinate. Yeah. Sounds good. Thank you so much for your time
Thank
and everything you do.
All right, moving on then to 5B. That's the Stoner Prairie Park. I'll start by just saying I'll move approval. May I get a second?
Second.
Thank you, Christopher. And this is specific to the address proposal. So Scott, do you mind if I?
Yeah, this is as we continue to implement the Stoner Prairie Park plan. The current address for Stoner Prairie Park is near the current playground, and the thought is with the expansion of the Stoner Prairie Park, along with the future playground and shelter, the idea of changing the address to the park is, I think, a solid one, and this is proposed by Deanna Schmidt and the planning department to change Stoner Prairie Park address to 5895 Velvet Drive.
And I know Sue had made a comment for this, just that from an important perspective, that it is recommended to always have an address related to a location that emergency personnel could get to easily. And so this, from Deanna Schmidt's recommendation, the Velt Drive was the better location, that I do know that feedback was also provided. But any questions or comments? Okay, moving forward then with approval. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And,
Aye.
and if I might, Sarah, maybe just to give a quick update on the Stoner Prairie Park plan.
Well, can I just, do we want to close this one out quick?
Yep.
Just, okay. Any opposed?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, it's okay. All right. Thank you, Scott.
You're welcome. So what we did do is we did bid the Stoner Prairie Park project. We did receive 2 bids, and they were over the budget. So what we're going to do is and actually it'll come back to the Park Commission on June 20th. We're looking to officially reject the bids and then work to get it rebid. And one of the things that we're considering to do is to have a base bid, which would include the shelter and those types of amenities, and then have an alternate for the playground. And what happened, we discovered, is with the general contractor, they have to sub out the playground, and I suspect they put their markup on it and those kinds of things. And as we discussed today too, the idea that there currently are playgrounds in the area, so we felt pretty good that it's not a case that the kids don't have playgrounds, but that seemed to make sense to have that as an alternative. So we'll be working to get that put together, and then actually too, the idea of extending the completion date to maybe June 15th of 2025. I know that continues to push it out, but the thought is that it will allow contractors a little bit more flexibility, and they may be encouraged to bid on the project. And it's if we rebid it and then get prices and it's going to be fall, and then to go in and get it shoehorned in there and by the end of the year, it just didn't make sense. So that's another thought on that one. So I just wanted to update the commission on that.
Any questions from the commission on that? Okay. Moving to discussion action items then, we'll go to 6A. And for this one, it's the Uptown Crossing Park discussion. And I know Scott is looking for approval to create a survey. So I will move forward with a motion to approve a survey. Do I have a second? Second motion. Thank you, Dave. And Patrick and I have connected in advance, just that he would like to just provide us a little bit of additional information. So this isn't just for helpful information. Patrick's here just for a quick comment.
Yeah. If the chair will allow, I'd like to throw in some correcting information there for the benefit of the commission, and I didn't think it necessary to register unless you want me to. What's labeled as 9 Bark there on the east side of Cyene Road is not 9 Bark. Just in case anyone is not familiar with this area, this is my larger neighborhood area, so I know the streets. Back up a little. Well, okay, on that one that you've marked as 9 Bark, on the Cyene is the yellow north-south road right there. Cyene. On the east side of Cyene right there, that is Central Park Place. On the west side of Cyene is 9 Bark. But Central Park Place starts right there at Cyene and goes to the east. And then on the next map, the next page there, I don't know how that map labels it as 9 Bark. Google Maps labels this as Central Park Place.
In this, in fairness, I think this was way back when the developer came to the city. So at that point, it was probably 9 Bark, but no, I appreciate the.
Maybe it wasn't even built then at that point.
That could be
relatively new.
But to me, it's just kind of the space that we're working on. But thank you for that clarification, PC.
Yep, that does make sense. Thank you for calling that out.
Yep.
And then Scott, do you mind?
Well, in this too is we're beginning to, or I have been hearing comments of the residents who reside in these areas. There is some park space, and they're wondering where their park is coming. So I thought it would be, I think it's appropriate that we begin to start to develop these parklands. I will mention, though, if you recall, Chris Cena, with the idea of having a what would we call that? That's a help me with that. It's what's that? Yeah, a capstone project, right, through UW-Madison. And one of the thoughts was that they were going to be able to create a kind of a concept plan for the whole area. But this certainly would, I suspect, kind of shake out as an area for a playground. So what I am requesting to do is to do a short survey of the residents in the area. I know these were what the amenities that were included in the development way back when. There was a playground, and actually you can see where originally there was park space, but that has now become stormwater facility. So the area that we actually have is generally in here. And I just wanted to double check that a playground would be an appropriate, what is the makeup of the neighborhood and those kinds of things, just to confirm that we put something in there that's going to be, used and applicable to the residents. And then the second space is actually the fire station is over here. And then there's a small green space here with a trail system. We do have limited budget, so whether we'd be able to do a boardwalk like this, I don't know. But certainly there's I believe, there's a path that goes so it's not really how the plan is laid out. There's a path that kind of goes like this currently. But the idea of eventually, connecting into this area potentially, because the area that we're talking about is right here, but it is noted that all this other space is public space, and then here's the one, this is the fire station here, and then this is that other public space. So the fire station's here in that public space. Then here's that little corner.
I know this is for approval to send a survey. Would you bring the survey here prior to, or this is just kind of kicking it off?
Well, this would kick it off just to let the neighborhood know that we're working on it, but again, try to confirm what they would like to see. And then I think at that point, I probably would come back to the Park Commission and see what their thoughts were, and then continue on with some kind of a park development in these two areas.
This may be a silly question, but I know the Lafayette is there, and that's just as a large apartment building. Do you send a survey then to every individual unit, or how do you gather that feedback?
Well, what I would do is I would reach out to that management group and ask them to send it to everybody there. And I probably would send it to the alders and ask them to send it out to their email groups or whatever it might be. But I'd really want to try and reach all of those, certainly all the people, all these folks in here that are new to the community, and then actually here too. There's some residents. So I'd probably, Sain might be a barrier, so I'd probably target this group right here, because they would be the likely users of the space.
Questions or comments? Christopher.
Yeah, I would just say that I think a survey is probably a good place to start, and trying to figure out what's desired by the neighborhood can help inform which of those two sites might make the most sense. And also, if the LA capstone does end up becoming a thing, that's information that they can take as well. And depending on how that, if we pursue a capstone project, what our, the Parks Department's and Parks Commission's goals are, they may be able to look at this whole area of, interconnected green spaces that you see up there as a bigger system, and then focus in on a specific site to do a more detailed site plan of, which that is sort of how the project is structured, how the capstone project is structured. So one of these sites could be one of those more detailed site plans that they do. So if that all shakes out, that means that we wouldn't have to seek out a landscape architect or designer to design that park. It could be part of that whole process if we apply and if we get accepted as a project.
I do love the idea of a capstone project. That is pretty cool. Yeah. No, it's.
And actually, Chris, this is the capstone planning area that Chris, that we provided. So the circle is the this whole area is the area that the capstone group would study.
So who owns that effort, Chris? So who's driving that? I guess this whole UW capstone, is that something that somebody here is doing, or?
Parks and Planning is my understanding.
Parks and Planning is driving that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Any other comments or questions? All right, moving forward to vote. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Wonderful. Scott, we'll look forward to hearing you from that one. And then moving forward with 6B, Southdale Park Neighborhood Survey. This one I know Scott is looking to move forward with sending the survey and having some participation at the community event on June 13th. I'll move approval for that. May I get a second?
Second.
Heidi? Scott, do you mind?
Yep, this is really kind of the same theme to I don't want to assume what the residents would like to see in their park, but as you recall, we did have a couple concepts prepared and included these amenities. So we wanted to kind of confirm that these would be the amenities that the neighborhood would be looking for. Along with if they have any concerns or any kind of additional amenities that they'd like to see that we didn't include. One thing I would want to ask to include is, if you're familiar, there's that kind of a switchback path that goes up the hill. And I'd like to kind of gather some information from the neighborhood on how important they feel that is. And certainly I think it's an important connection, but maybe just get a little feedback from the neighborhood, and maybe if it's of high importance to the neighborhood, then we might adjust the development and utilize the dollars that we have.
So how might you incorporate that in the survey, right? So if safety is an issue, and that's one of the things that you're talking about in reference to that path, how would that be captured in the survey?
Well, what I would do is I would generally, the survey is organized for interest in specific facilities, playgrounds, shelter, water spray feature, drinking, updated paths, and then I might call out just specifically the, I don't know, I'd have to think about how I would call it out, but the, path connection from the park to the highway.
So you would actually put it in the document?
I would. I would
Okay,
actually.
I would mean lighting, safety. I mean, we brought that issue up the last go around.
I think to that's really something that we as the Park Commission are going to take high priority in the lighting and in those kinds of things. So I think that's a given, Sam, that we're going to be looking at the security and the lighting and those kinds of things. So
got it.
I think that's
the other consideration we brought up the last time, I think it was salient that came out of the meeting, was how much of this is actual capital expenditure versus operating budget. And so some separation, once we get the results of this survey, then we need to make some sort of determination as to what bucket those changes would go into.
Well, and certainly the operating budget is the operating budget. The park improvement fees we can utilize for new facilities. And I did get some clarification in regards to that. And if we put in new facilities and don't remove any older facilities, then we're in good shape. That will kind of add to the existing amenities that we have there.
Heidi?
I want to say, first of all, I think this survey is great. I mean, this is exactly what we discussed at the last meeting. And so I think your survey really hits the points that, we were all sort of discussing. The question I do have, and I don't know, maybe this isn't something maybe it's a can of worms we don't want to open, but what about the community garden? Is that something that we want to ask folks if they're interested in? And if we do put that on there, might we also put something on there? Would you be willing to help lead the, whatever the development of, or however you want to phrase it? If in fact that is something that we want to pursue. I don't know what everybody's thoughts are on that.
Well, and actually, Heidi, we do have a community garden there, and we do have a garden leader, so that already exists. So we're set.
If I'm going to piggyback on what she's saying, I think that is an important thing to put in there. I think you should have some description of what activities would you like to see in the park, so you get some idea of not only what things you want in the park, but what activities people might want to do. It could be gardening, it could be the soccer league, it could be biking, so where you get, so I think asking them for what they would want to do in the park, I think, is also important.
Heidi, did you have more? I do agree with Heidi's question of potentially asking if there are people that would want to support, because I know when we had a community garden, there was one garden leader, and it was very overwhelming. Do you know, Scott, do you have a relationship with that individual as to if they would be curious to have additional contacts? Because that does seem like a heck of a lot of work, but I don't know.
There is. I don't recall the gentleman's name, but there is a group that is organized for the gardens at Southdale. So we do have that. We do have that group, but I like that idea of the question of activities, and maybe we could list. We'll have to think about how to get that in there, but that'd be good information to gather as far as what activities the group might be interested in. Did that answer what you were asking, Sarah?
I think so. And Heidi, did that answer your? Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome.
I know one other thing too, Scott, just that you and I had talked about, is that you did clarify that this would be available in Spanish. And then at that June 13th Southdale Park Resource Fair, that the intent was to have it be a QR code to have people encouraged to submit the survey online. And so I thought that was a great idea to get as many responses as possible.
And I'm looking to have a booth there, and actually we've got, if you're familiar with it, there's a big signage board there, so we can place it there. And then I've got actually a couple contacts in the Southdale neighborhood that will help me get the information out. So we should have a good feedback response from the neighborhood.
Any other questions or comments?
Well, I don't know, this may be a bit off topic, but regarding that June 13th event, is there anything that the Park Commission can do to sort of, I don't know, I don't want to say advertise, but maybe promote this, or that you guys, you being the people who work at the city, in the park area, that you would like our help with organizing or anything like that?
Well, I tell you, if you're willing and interested to be there, you can, we can be there and listen to the community. But like I say, we'll just have a table with information and some surveys, and they've got a whole host of, where is that flyer? They've got a whole host of other sponsors, participating agencies that'll be there, and we'll be, I'll have a table there to kind of share that survey. So yeah, that'd be great if you could be there, Heidi, and we can just kind of gather feedback from the community, right?
Yeah, I'm planning at this point to attend. I think it's important for us to make sure that we know that they're part of Fitchburg now. And, we want to make sure that they're welcome. And I think that park has so much potential. So, yeah, I definitely plan to be there. But as I said, if there's anything you'd like our help with, please don't hesitate to let us know.
Will do. Thank you, Heidi. Will do.
All right, not seeing any other questions or comments. Moving to vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed, please say nay. Motion carries. All right, 7A, communication. We have Tower Hill Park Shelter renovation update.
Yep, we're in the final stages of putting together the construction documents for the renovation of the Tower Hill Park Shelter. and it's really going to be similar to what we did at McGaw. If you look at the first rendering there, the family is on the path. If you're familiar, the playground is over here, and then they got the path, and then here's the shelter. The footprint is going to remain the same. What we're going to do is we're going to put a metal roof on the shelter, and then actually this is going to be an additional door. If you're familiar, the bricked-in area is actually an enclosure that has the bathrooms and that kind of thing. So we're going to have a window there, and then this is kind of the street view, and then there's currently 2 windows here that have crossbars, are like an old, but you know, and that's our air vent. That's our ventilation, so you can know how musty and stuff it is in there. So this is going to be like a block, some kind of a block frosted window is what we're looking at. And then this is looking. This is the open air space area, if you would, and you can see we've got another window here, and actually there's going to be like an L counter that's going to be inside the enclosed area that in some electrical that groups that rent the facility will be able to, you know, set up their crock pots or whatever it might be. The doors will be on the swipe doors similar to we have in other park shelters, and they'll be, you know, they'll lock at 10 o'clock and open up at 6. And we'll also include security cameras, which is really kind of the standard for all of our new shelters. And then maybe just a little bit of the, this is the road over here, and then this is the open air. And then we'll have 2 family bathrooms on the one end, and then a little bit of a chase. And then actually this, where the utilities are, we'll have a little mop sink in there, but we'll have a door, and that'll be secure. And then, as I mentioned, here's the little L preparation table, if you would, with a window here and a window here. So we're it's going to be a nice update. So I wanted to give you and this actually, as we're looking pretty close to getting it bid, and then get it renovated this fall yet, before the end of the season.
And we do have Patrick registered to speak on this one.
Yes, go ahead, PC.
You go to the first page.
First page. We'll do.
Yeah, from me, some questions for your discussion and some comments. The exterior there, right now, the brick is a very dark reddish brown, so I'm wondering if that's going to be lightened up or something, because this looks a lot better. I don't know if it's going to change the exterior somehow or what, but this looks better than what it looks like right now on that brick. But it's nice to save the brick walls there and everything, because it's very solid. Yeah. On the, I think you did mean that's an extra window on the south side of it right there, not a door, like you said.
It's a window, yep. Did I say door?
Okay, you said door.
Yeah, no, window.
Okay.
Yeah.
On the floor plan of it, this is impressive that Angus Young was able to fit in some ADA compliant restrooms in there, because this is a very small space inside of that room. The whole room there is pretty tight, and the restrooms, of course, will take up more space in there. This is the first I've heard. There's nothing in the packet about putting security cameras, which I think is a waste of money and means there's a fee to run that and everything, and I think I'm opposed to that. Don't think that's necessary on a shelter like this. The little equipment room over there also seems unnecessary. It just takes up extra space inside of this tight room right there, and I think that could be eliminated too. The room inside of here is pretty dark. There's some old lighting. Now, since there's no electrical here, and it mentions in the packet that electrical diagrams are coming, so I don't know what kind of lighting fixtures are going to be provided here. But just looking at this right here, I would suggest considering 2 of those solar light tubes that bring light from, up above the roof through into the inside there. There could be one in the center of this inside room right here. And there could be a second one just outside to the right side there, outside of that east-facing door out into the open area, over to the right.
Oh, I'm
Out there. Yeah, out
I'm
there
not
in the
following.
open area. Yeah, one in the center of the room, and then one outside of the east door that would help light up the counter right there. Because both of those are pretty dark areas.
Well, and we did.
And I don't know what is going to be done with the roof exactly. Right now, it has a flat boarded off ceiling up at 8-foot height, and it just kind of looks like a massive roof over this thing. So I don't know if the whole roof is going to be taken off and rebuilt, which is probably a good idea. And possibly this might appear more open in the open area on the outside right there, if the roof part over the open area, especially the outside, was more of trusses and something that gave you an open, like a cathedral ceiling appearance. Because right now it's just, something plywood or something or other boards across the top, and it just looks more closed in. So things to consider.
Thank you.
Thank you, Patrick. And I know, Scott, you're not looking for any action on this one, just an FYI that the construction estimate's moving forward with the electrical, but any questions or comments from anyone?
I mean, I'm new to this, so I'm not exactly sure. I'm assuming that this meets all the residence requirements that you started out when you put this together. Is that correct?
The residence requirement?
Yeah, I mean, I'm assuming this Tower Hills, the reason why we're building this or renovating it is someone came forward and wanted that done.
We as staff did. It was built in 1973, I think, and it needs to be updated.
Okay, so it's been just we've decided as an organization to go in and
Park
make these
Commission,
renovations.
through the CIP process, right?
Okay,
Right.
so it wasn't necessarily driven by residents. It was really just driven by a need for an update.
No, it was not.
Okay, thank you for the
You're welcome.
clarification.
You're welcome.
I'm assuming that most of this stuff is baked in already, based on some of the comments that Patrick made. Is it a little late to be making changes at this point? I guess.
No.
Okay.
I guess I would. I can share those with the consultant, but if you currently the doors are there's no windows in them, so our thought was really to try to get some light in there. So the doors will have windows in them. That's why we added the two windows to get some light in the area. Regarding the circuit breaker panel is open to the public now. It's just open. So the idea of securing that we felt was a good one for safety, along with, always a maintenance, swaps, some place that we can put a hose and hose it out and those kinds of things. So those were what we considered when we put together the floor plan.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, 7B, the Ninja Warrior Fitness Playground ribbon cutting?
Yes, June 27th, and we're still looking for people to demonstrate. So if anyone's willing to demonstrate, but that'll be on June 27th. The mayor will have a ribbon cutting. Then if we wanted to move on to the McKee tennis courts, we've got that opening set for August 21st. I will tell you that there's a bit of a delay with the tennis courts. Originally, we were going to have them completed by July 1, but the Pro Bounce installers, they were sidetracked on the East Coast due to weather, so they're about 2 or 3 weeks behind. So we're looking to be maybe a July 12th or July 19th completion date. But the idea is people could still play on them and those kinds of things. But then we'd have a ribbon cutting on the 21st. Then the North Fish Hatchery Hub, we did bid that project. We received, was it 3 bids? Yep, 3 bids. Sullivan, McKee, and Tri-North. And staff is moving forward with the proposal submitted by Sullivan. And actually it's going to go to the council on the 11th of June to be referred out. And that's of note. I changed the June 27th Park Commission meeting to June 20th, so that the Park Commission would be able to take action on it before the council would take final action on the 24th of June. So please mark your calendars and do your best to get here on the 20th. We do have a couple other items, including the budget, and that we'll talk about. So there are a couple other items for the June 20th meeting. So that's the communication updates. And certainly if there's any questions, I can try to answer those.
Perfect. And I know for the staff reports and updates, you have those included in the packet, unless there's any questions. And so then I think we go to 9 of future agenda items. Are any future agenda items anyone would like to add on? Sarah? Yes, Dave, sorry.
Agenda item, I've been having some talks with some local business groups about getting a Friends of the Park 501 3B or 3C set up, and so I'd like to put that on the agenda for
for discussion. Sure.
Yes.
Do you have any candidates that are interested?
Yes.
Excellent.
I do.
Excellent. Very good. That'd be great. I will add that. Do you want to do that on the 20th, Dave? It might be.
Yeah, it's a little early.
Okay.
Early for he's
Okay.
he's getting he's
No,
getting things set up.
whenever you're ready. Absolutely.
How about the one after?
August.
We don't have one in July, do we? August would work.
Yeah, July 4th. We moved it to the 27th, but then I moved it to the 20th.
Yeah, let's put it in. Let's put in August. I should have a few more things.
Excellent, David. Anything I can do to help you, let me know.
I will certainly let you know, Scott.
Thank you, sir. That'd be big. That'd be good.
Exciting future agenda topic.
I've got a couple projects for him, actually.
Okay, then we'll go to announcements. The next two meetings, like Scott had said, will be June 20th and August 1st. Then I'd take a motion to adjourn.
I'll move to adjourn.
Chris?
Motion.
Heidi second. Great. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any against, please say nay. Wonderful. We are adjourned at 6:48.
Thank you for
Thank you, everyone, for your
chairing,
time.
Sarah.